Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Finally, first of all, very happy Ramadan. All of you, hope you're enjoying your Ramadan at home and also doing your studies as well. Today, I'm going to discuss with you an important topic, that is short stature children. First of all, what is the definition of short stature? Subnormal height relative to other children of same age, sex, ethnic background, and for family heights. This is a commonly accepted definition. But if you go into a very scientific definition, then it is a child whose height is below 2 standard deviation for age and gender. Or it is height below third centile or less than 2 standard deviation below the median height for that age, then 6 according to the population standards. Or even if the height is within the normal percentile, but growth velocity is consistently below the 25th centile over a period of 6 months to 12 months. So any height that is below the third centile or less than 2 standard deviation below the median height for that age and population will be termed that it is short stature. Few important definitions before I go on to describe and explain to you. There are two important definitions: growth and development. What is growth? It refers to an increase in physical size of the whole body or any of its parts. It is a quantitative change in a child's body and can be measured in kilograms, pounds, meters, or inches. There are different parameters. Basically, it is a quantitative change in child's body, starting from the birth to the pre-adolescence and adolescence and various stages in which we measure the increase in physical size. Right? It is measured in terms of units like kgs or pounds.
मैम आप
Huh?
आवाज ठीक है मैम आप था
Mass बता दूं? Now, then development. Development refers to a progressive increase in skill and capacity of the body. It is basically a qualitative change in childhood. Growth was a quantitative change. You can measure it in terms of minutes, while growth is a qualitative change. That is a progressive increase in skills and capacity of the function, right from birth to the different stages of life. Child growth is it can be measured through observation. There are different parameters, there are different milestones depending upon the child's age, through which we measure and assess the development of the child. What are the various factors that affect the growth? Birth size, nutrition, general well-being, psychosocial factors, and endocrine factors. What, which means that we go through the history of the child, see if the child was having low birth weight, then it can be an important contributing factor to short stature. Or if there is a history of undernutrition or some psychosocial deprivation or some endocrine causes, all these factors they contribute to lower growth of the child. Normal growth parameters. Few important milestones. At birth, the normal length of a child is 50 centimeter, and it increases to 75 centimeter at 1 year of age. At 4 years, it can be calculated by a formula if we know the height or length of the child at birth and multiply it by 2. It means that by 4 years of age, the height of the child doubles. For example, if a child was 50 centimeter long at birth, at 4 years of age, his length will be double this, that is 100 centimeter, and increases to 3 times the birth height at 13 years of age. While from 2 to 12 years of age, a rough formula that is used is we plot the age of the child in years, multiply it with 6 and add 77. That will give us the normal expected height of the child. Chronological age is the actual age of the child in terms of years. That is, how old is the child? 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, 4 year. That is a chronological age. And height is what is height? It is the age at which the height of the child is at 50th centile. The age at which whatever height is the child is having, it is counted at 50 centile, and this is termed as height age. Bone age is an indicator of steady maturation. Target MPH is calculated through a formula in which we add the height of the mother and the father and divide it by 2. And if our patient is a boy, then we add 6.5, and if it's a girl, then we subtract this from this average. Whatever result that we get, we plot it on the group chart at 20 years of age and from a family growth curve. That will help us to estimate the expected height of the child at 20 years of age. Body proportions, lower body segment and upper body segment. These are few terms that you will come across very frequently if you are going to assess the stature, short stature of a child. What is lower segment? Lower segment is measured from the pubic symphysis down to the floor. You make the child stand against the wall straight, and you take the measurement from the pubic symphysis down to the floor. Whatever result you get, that is the lower segment of the body of this child. And the upper segment, in this case, you subtract the lower segment value from the total height of the child, and this will give you upper segment. After having taken both these upper and the lower segment, what the next step is that you will take the ratio of upper and lower segment. There are few normal values that you should remember if you are going to determine whether the child has got short stature or not. The upper lower segment ratio at birth is 1.7, and it drops to 1.3 at 3 years of age, and when the child is around 7 years of age, this ratio comes out to be 1. Any child who has upper lower segment ratio below 1 at 7 years of age is a candidate for workup for short stature. Uh, Proportionate short stature is the one that involves both the trunk and the lower extremities, and disproportionate short stature is the one that involves one more than the other. It means that if both the trunk and the lower extremities are short, then we will say that it is a proportionate short stature. But if one of the parameter is more than the other. Say the limbs are shorter than the trunk, or the trunk is shorter than the longer than the limb, then we will say that it is disproportionate short stature. Uh, Etiologically, we can divide the short statured children into two broad categories: those who have a normal growth velocity and those with low growth velocity. Those who have a normal growth velocity are the children who are small, but they are growing at an appropriate rate, while the children who are small but the growth is slow as well, then they are said to have a low growth velocity. Normal growth velocity, short stature children, they are found in three major types: constitutional delay in growth and puberty, familial short stature, and low birth weight and intrauterine growth retardation. That means these children are small, but their rate of growth is normal. While those with low growth velocity are those who have undernutrition, they have some sort of psychosocial deprivation, chronic illnesses, malabsorption, some syndromes, endocrine causes, inborn errors of metabolism, MPS, mucopolysaccharidosis, rickets, some intrinsic disease of the bone like achondroplasia, osteogenesis imperfecta, skeletal and spinal dysplasias. There are certain points in the history, if we take it from the parents and the child, that will help us in determining the etiology of short stature. For example, if a mother gives the history of delayed puberty in the parents of the child, most likely the cause would be constitutional motive. If there is history of low birth weight, then this will be a case of small for gestation age. If there is a history of hypoglycemia in the neonatal period, jaundice, or some other causes, then this will be due to growth hormone deficiency. If there is poor dietary intake history, then the child will be undernutrition that will be constitutional. If there is history of headache, vomiting, some visual problem, then the cause most likely would be pituitary or some space occupying lesion or some problem in the hypothalamus. If there is lethargy, constipation, or weight gain, then the most likely sinister is the hypothyroidism. If there is history of polyuria, then there is renal causes leading to chronic renal failure or renal tubular acidosis. If there is some social, psychosocial deprivation, some problem in the social setup, then there will be psychosocial hypothesis. If there is a midline defect, microveins, frontal fossa, depressed nasal bridge, crowded teeth, the etiological cause of short stature will be growth hormone deficiency. If the child has rickets, then you have to see for renal causes like renal failure, renal tubular acidosis, also malabsorption due to micronutrient deficiencies. If there is pallor, then there will be most likely renal failure, malabsorption, nutritional illness, dysfunction. Malnutrition like prenatal malnutrition, malabsorption, celiac disease, cystic fibrosis, obesity leading to hypothyroidism, Cushing syndrome, Prader-Willi, metacarpal short-leg infarct, Turner syndrome, pseudohypoparathyroidism, cardiac murmurs in case of congenital heart disease or Turner syndrome, mental retardation, hypothyroidism, Downer, Turner. If you find out that a child that you are growing uh, short stature can broadly be classified into disproportionality between the upper and the lower body, like in case of achondroplasia, while others have shorter trunks that you see mostly in case of mucopolysaccharidosis. While in case of proportionate short stature, all the in case of pathological short stature, you have to see for prenatal and postnatal causes. Prenatal causes can be intrauterine growth retardation, intrauterine infections, genetic disorders, both chromosomal and metabolic. While postnatal causes include undernutrition, chronic systemic illnesses, psychosocial short stature or endocrine causes that I am going to discuss in detail in the coming slides. Now, before going on to, we should be very well versed. How will you measure the height normally? In case of a child who is under 2 years of age, you will measure the length instead of height. For this, a special equipment is used that is called an infentometer. It is a firm box, has got an inflexible pole against which the head lies, and you make the child lie on that flat surface, and there is a movable footboard on which the feet are placed. And having placed the child flat on this surface, you adjust this movable footboard, and after this, you take the final length of the child. If the age of the child is more than 2 years, then you have to take the erect height. For this, the child is made to stand against a wall with the head, the shoulders touching the wall. Head is held in a horizontal plane. Upward pressure is applied to the menstrual processes in order to encourage the child to stand up straight. How will you approach a child who has short stature? You have to take the height, you have to plot the family chart, you have to do the bone age evaluation, then go on to some workup, and in the light of this workup, if needed, some provocative tests are to be done. First of all, you will take the history from the child and the parents. Ask the parents about their height and the height of the other siblings, whether they are of the normal height or they are also short stature. If there is history of short stature in the parents and the siblings, then most likely it is a case of familial short stature. If there is history of delayed menarche in the mother or delayed adolescent growth spurt in the father, then most likely there will be constitutional short stature in the child. You have to take a detailed nutritional and psychosocial history. Uh, uh, Rule out predisposing conditions like inguinal infections, small gestational age at birth, congenital syndromes, chronic illnesses, and malnutrition. You have to do a detailed examination, taking accurate height, weight, head circumference, and arm span, upper lower segment body ratio, and plot these values on the centile charts. You have to do the fundoscopy to rule out any evidence of raised intracranial pressure or any underlying CNS disease that can cause growth hormone deficiency in ultimately short stature. Abnormalities of digits, joints, and body proportions, presence or absence of goiter, the kind of staging to evaluate pubertal development, and dentition and state of nutrition of the child are very important to be assessed. Having done the examination, you have to document the parental height, mid-parental height, and the target height. Determine the growth velocity of the child. That is the growth rate from 1 year of age through pre-adolescence. The low limit is it has to be at least 5 centimeter per year. That is, a child should be growing at least 5 centimeter in a year. If this growth rate is below 5 centimeter, then you have to undergo some workup. A short child who has a normal growth rate is unlikely to have some endocrinopathy or significant illness. In case a short statured girl, then you should consider Turner syndrome, even if there is no typical features, but you have to consider Turner syndrome. Early diagnosis is important for appropriate therapy, which is growth hormone in younger age and estrogen progesterone at the time of puberty. One thing that you must always remember that all endocrine disorders they cause proportionate short stature except for hypothyroidism, while all skeletal dysplasias cause disproportionate short stature except for osteogenesis. So what that means is that while you are investigating a child with short stature, you must remember that if you are suspecting that there is some endocrine pathology underlying the short stature, that all endocrine causes, all endocrine disorders, they will cause proportionate short stature except for hypothyroidism. It will cause disproportionate short stature. On the other hand, if there is evidence of some skeletal dysplasias, then it will be always disproportionate shots, meaning that the upper and the lower body segments will be disproportionate. They will either the limbs will be short or the trunk will be short, but not in the case of osteogenesis imperfecta, in which case there will be proportionate short stature. Now, mid-parental height is taken by taking the height of the pair, both the mother and the father. And in case the patient is a boy, then you add these mother and father's height, divide it by 2 and add 6.5. But in case of a girl patient, you will subtract 6.5. After taking this, you will plot the result on the chart at A20 to form a family chart. For example, you are examining a 3-year-old girl and her height is 85 centimeters. This is where it falls. You take the height of the mother and the father's due date is 165 and 155 centimeters. Since she is a female child, you will add them, divide by 2 and minus 6.5. The result comes out to be 153.5 centimeters. Now on the growth chart, you will plot this on 20 years of age. It comes at around this. And plus minus 10 is 143 and 140, 163. This will be the expected family chart, and the final height of this child would lie somewhere here. After having taken the height of the child and growth velocity, you will plot it on appropriate growth charts. These are available in the pediatric wards and the OPDs, and according to the age and the gender of the child. As you can see, this is the plotting shows age in the years, and on around the y-axis you have the weight and the height in centimeter and the weight in kgs. You take the height, you go along the age and then plot it as per your measured value. Now, after having done this, you assess the body proportions, upper segment and lower segment, as I have already told you. Upper lower segment body ratio, if it is increased as compared to the age, then most likely causes rickets, achondroplasia, untreated hypothyroidism. If it is increased, then it is spondyloepiphyseal dysplasias, vertebral lamies, and you take the arm span, you ask the child to stand upright and stretch out both the hands in the horizontal plane and measure the distance from middle finger of one hand to the other. That will give you an arm span. Comparison of child's old genetic potential. I've already told you sexual maturation rating is also known as Turner staging, and it is used in older children. 5 stages are included. Uh, Disproportionate short stature involves one body segment more than the other. If the ratio is increased, achondroplasia, short skeletal dysplasia, if it is decreased, scoliosis, Turner syndrome, and other likely. Now, coming to the investigations that we have covered for short stature, level 1 that you have to do in any case, whatever is your suspicion, you have to do for go for CBC, ESR, bone age, urine analysis, going for microscopy, pH osmolarity, and stool examination for parasites, tutorial, blood examination for renal function test, calcium, phosphate, alkaline phosphatase, blood sugar, albumin, transfer. Bondage is it should be done in all children who have short stature. Parents of free physical center and fusion effect with mitosis tells us about the skeletal maturity of the child. Conventionally read from the X-rays of hand and wrist using Coolidge pile, atlas, or Tanner white. This is basically a radiological screening. What does it take? Why do we go for bone? It tells us about maturity correlates closely with facial maturation rate, speech for remaining growth stage, helps in prediction of adult height. If there is a delay of more than two standard deviation, that is more than 2 years, is significant. Say a child is 6 years of age, and you ask for the bone age, and it comes out to be that the bone age of the child is around 3 years, then it is significant. But if it comes out at around 5 years for a 6-year-old child, then it is not significant. Now, after having done the level 1 investigation, you move on to the level 2 investigations, that is the thyroid function test. Then you do karyotyping to rule out the Turner syndrome in girls, observe the height velocity over a period of 6 to 12 months. If the height is below 3 standard deviation, then you will go for the level 3 investigation. That includes celiac serology, duodenal biopsy, growth hormone stimulation tests with clonidine or insulin, and serum insulin-like growth factor. Uh, the management of a child with short stature is in the form of 4 or 5 parameters. Counseling of the parents, first of all, is done if there is a physiological cause. You go for the dietary advice, take history of undernutrition, and try to manage it. If there is celiac disease, then treat it. If there is growth hormone deficiency at the base of the short stature, then you will get subcutaneous injections of growth hormone. Limb lengthening procedures if there is some skeletal dysplasia, and if the child is having hypothyroidism leading to short stature, then we will give levothyroxine. Now, I will briefly discuss the various etiological causes of constitutional short stature, and discuss their treatment patterns. First of all, constitutional short stature. What is constitutional short stature? It is a delayed growth pattern with delayed maturity but normal final height. Basically, there is a delay in growth and delay in maturity, but the final adult height is that is achieved is normal. More common in males, the child's rate of physical maturation is delayed as compared with children of the same age. Bone age is equal to height age and less than chronological age, which means that the bone age is less than chronological age. Along with the growth pattern, pubertal maturation is correspondingly delayed. Ultimate height of these children is usually normal for the family since the pubertal growth spurt it occurs between 15 to 17 years and growth continues till 18 to 20 years of age. Family history of short stature in childhood and delayed puberty in other family members is all. Basically, इसमें होता ये है कि बच्चे का growth the process are delayed है लेकिन what happens is the final adult height that is important, that is it, that is normal. So, how will you manage it? You will first of all reassure the parents that there is no significant endocrine cause, and normal growth in puberty with reasonable adult height will be achieved. All they have to do is to wait and see and be patient. No treatment, significant treatment is required. But if there is some parental apprehension, then you can go for low dose testosterone over a period of 3 to 6 months. This will this will hasten the timing of puberty and accelerated growth, but final adult height will not be affected. That will remain the same around at the normal. Growth hormone has no role in this type of short stature, that is constitutional short stature. Now coming to the familial or genetic short stature, these children establish growth curves at or below the fifth centile by 2 to 3 years of age. They are otherwise completely healthy with a normal physical examination. The growth velocity is more than 4 centimeters per year and bone age is appropriate for chronological age. In case of constitution, the bone age was less than the chronological age. But in case of familial short stature, it is approximately equal to the chronological age. Puberty occurs at usual age. Short stature is found in at least one of the parents. Since puberty occurs at usual age, these children are usually less disturbed emotionally and socially as compared to those with constitution. That means that they don't have any pubertal delay. All they have is a short stage because there is family history of short. फैमिली का जो स्ट्रक्चर है उसी में शॉर्ट स्टेज है पेरेंट्स में आपको मिलेगी बहन भाई में मिलेगी तो अदरवाइज उनका ग्रोथ पैटर्न दैट इज नॉर्मल comparative analysis of female short stature and constitutional short stature. In case of female short stature, one or both the parents will be small. While constitutional short stature, the parents will be having average height. Uh, Parental puberty will be at the usual timing in case of female, but it will be delayed in case of constitutional. Length of the child at birth will be normal in both the cases. Growth pattern will be normal in female short stature but normal to slow in constitutional delay. Puberty will be delayed in constitutional while it will be normal at a normal time in case of female short stature. Bone age will be delayed in constitutional and the timing of the puberty as well. Puberty growth rate will be diminished and adult height that will be achieved is to be normal in constitutional short stature, but it will be short for familial short stature because this is their usual family familiar pattern. Growth hormone deficiency. These children grow with subnormal growth velocity less than 5 centimeters per year with a significant delay of skeletal maturation. Having established growth velocity below 5 centimeters per year and ruling out other causes of short stature, growth hormone testing should be carried out. Classical growth hormone deficient children don't show an increase in serum growth hormone level after stimulation by various secretagogues like insulin and clonidine. Treatment is recombinant growth hormone is given if there is an increase in growth velocity from a baseline of less than 5 centimeter per year to at least 7 to 8 centimeter per year, then it means that you have been treating the child in the right direction. That is the target. That baseline of growth rate of less than 5 centimeter and treating it with growth hormone recombinant therapy, the growth pattern will increase to around 7 to 8 centimeter per year. But if you do not find a good response, then you should review the diagnosis or assess the compliance system. This is the growth hormone injections that are usually given to these children. The other important cause of short stature, very common one, is hypothyroidism, as it causes marked growth failure with the growth velocity less than 5 centimeters per year, marked retardation of skeletal maturation. Since hypothyroidism is a treatable cause that can be treated easily, all children with short stature should have thyroid function test even in the absence of obvious symptoms to rule out any degree of hypothyroidism. Treatment is lifelong levothyroxine. Chronic systemic diseases include somatic and mental heart disease like atopic fellow and other important causes include poorly controlled diabetes mellitus, celiac disease, IBD, uh, chronic venous failure, asthma. In all these chronic systemic illnesses, they will be in short stages. And if you have established it that this child is having some chronic illness that has led to the short stature, then once you treat the primary disease, whichever the child is having, and give them a high calorie balanced diet, you are bound to treat the short stature as well. Undernutrition, globally, malnutrition is the commonest cause of overgrowth and short stature. Due to poverty and inadequate parenting, the child is not offered enough to eat, leading to inadequate calorie intake. If you give adequate dietary advice, there are chances that your height will increase. Psychosocial deprivation in some children, a hostile, abusive environment that leads to functional growth. These children show bizarre behavior, disturbed sleep pattern, immature sleep. Clinically, they resemble the children with growth hormone deficiency with marked retardation of bone age and delayed puberty. Psychological and psychiatric evaluation of these children must be carried out if you want to treat them. Disproportionate short stature due to some skeletal dysplasias. In this case, you will measure arm span, upper lower body segment ratio. They help in determining whether the child has any body proportion. You have to go for a full body skeletal survey to reach some diagnosis. Treatment is you treat the primary cause and you treat short stature. Having said, you don't have to worry long because there are some perks of being short. You will always be adorable, you will always be loved by others. Most guys are taller than you. You can wear heels without being too tall. There are a lot of leg spaces if you are traveling. Evidence suggests that short people live longer. You can always hem long pants. Most hair for shorter girls. Hair to height ratio makes your hair look 10 times longer. You look younger than you really are. There are very famous personalities in the history that are short stature, but the short stature was not a hurdle in their uh, becoming famous, like Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Charlie Chaplin. I hope today's lecture was informative for you and you were able to comprehend and understand this mechanism underlying short stature. And next time, if you are encountered with a child who is short uh, stature, who used to be short, then you will be able to investigate and give some treatment. I hope you have completely understood. If you have any questions, any queries, I'm here to answer. You're most more than welcome to ask. We personally,
क्या देखिए
इनको 10 मिनट्स वेट कर लेते हैं, क्वेश्चन लगा सकते हैं।
क्वेश्चन पूछो
हाँ वो
चैट
बच्चों ने कोई नहीं पूछना।
मैम आपने पूछना है।
नहीं मैंने नहीं पूछना, मैंने तो वेट कर रही होगी किसी को पूछना है।
ना ना वो ऐसे नहीं पूछा,
नहीं पूछा
जब तक आपने पूछेंगे उन्होंने पूछा।